All right, just days after announcing that the DOJ is reviewing classified documents that were found in President Biden's office at the Penn Center, his aides have found a new batch of classified documents at a second undisclosed location at the moment.
How surprising. At this time, it is not clear how many documents were found or where. We don't have many answers.
Here to react is Texas Congressman Troy Nehls. Good morning to you, Congressman.
Good morning. Good to be with y'all.
Good to have you on. Tell us, what is your reaction about this, and why don't we know where the second batch was found?
Well, there's not a whole lot of conversation with the fake media today talking about this, but we certainly do know this. 91 days prior to the midterm elections, the DOJ and the FBI went into Mar-a-Lago and they searched every room. They were in Barron's room. They were going after Donald Trump because he had classified documents. And that's all the media talked about for 91 days leading up to the midterms was Donald Trump. Garland forms a special prosecutor to go after Donald Trump to try to keep him off the ballot. And we're hearing very little now, very little, a few sources, very little about these documents with Biden. And I tell you something, what needs to happen, in my opinion, a search warrant needs to be drafted. We need to get into his offices and look to see if there are even more documents. You found one batch, you find a second batch, there could be more out there. And then let's get a special prosecutor formed, right, and look into these documents with Biden when he is vice president.
You find it odd that they send lawyers to clean out a closet that happens to be locked? Doesn't it seem as though he knew there was something in there if you send lawyers on moving day?
Maybe he felt he'd have a little attorney-client privilege there. Heck, I don't know. But all I do know is that this has to be looked into, certainly. We all know that the vice president does not have a right to declassify any classified documents like that. The president does. He's the only one that does. So we're going to see. I think this is going to cause Joe Biden some problems here in the future for 2020-24. And I believe that maybe there are some people with his own party appreciate the fact that he has these documents, because there are many in his own party that don't want him to run again.
You're absolutely right. And it is curious. It sounds like the lawyers just went because they were looking for stuff, because they were worried Joe had some, and then jackpot, there it is. And now they've found a second batch. It's going to continue. Let's see if he comments in 90 minutes in the East Room. Meanwhile, Congressman, want to ask you a little bit about the confidence we should have in America's transportation system. And over 10,000 flights were delayed yesterday. There were 1,300 cancellations. And they say it wasn't cyber. People have said it was just an old system, whatever. Where are those trillions of dollars we're spending on infrastructure going? Because they're not going to this, because America came to a grinding halt yesterday.
You say confidence in the Transportation Administration. I think the American people would say the lack thereof. When you look at what took place earlier this week, we had over 7,000 flights canceled, and that was done before 9 a.m. It was across the entire country. It was the first time we've had aircraft grounded throughout the United States since 9/11. Yeah. So this administration is having some difficult days, and it was just a few weeks ago over the holidays. Obviously, Southwest Airlines, there was a total failure there with Southwest, and it stranded families across the entire country for several days when they're trying to celebrate Christmas and the holidays. And then if you go back a few months prior to that, when you look at the railroad strike, Mayor Pete, you failed there as well. Joe Biden, you failed with that as well. And then it took Congress to act. And Congress obviously saved the country over $2 billion a day by averting this strike that, quite honestly, should have been taken care of by Joe Biden and Mayor Pete.
Well, Mayor Pete, Nancy Race, the congresswoman from South Carolina, filed a bill yesterday requiring Pete Buttigieg to fly commercial and his entire staff until this is fully investigated and resolved.
You
want to. What are your comments about that?
Well, I think that Pete is obviously very struggling. Should he be on a commercial airliner? I think there's a lot of people that probably don't like him too much today. I mean, he's obviously has some issues. He's got to get his office straightened out. The FAA, the American people need to understand that we still don't have an FAA administrator. Biden's nominee, his name is Philip Washington, and he has some issues with his character, and I don't believe that he hasn't received Senate confirmation yet. So I think he has some problems with his senior leadership. Some individuals went to the FAA office here in Washington the other day, and the lights are off. The lights are off. He doesn't have the people there. We need to get the federal government, we need to get the employees back into their office and serve the American people. Everybody's still at home because of COVID.
Joke.
It's a joke.
And they're taking the air marshals and putting them down on the border.
The only thing a bigger fail than Mayor Pete has been what's going on at the border under Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. And now, as promised, it looks like Congressman Fallon has moved forward with articles of impeachment. What are your thoughts about a guy that was a sheriff in Texas for years?
I love it. I think Mr. Fallon, a great Texas congressman, did the right thing. I co-sponsored that. I jumped on that right away, and I've been calling for Mayorkas impeachment as well, because if you look at what he's done, he will look in the camera and tell the American people the southern border is secure. We're not stupid. The American people can see there are thousands of people that have entered this country. It's by design. This is deliberate. It's by design, and it must stop. We must secure our southern border. And Mayorkas, you've been a failure, and you've lied to the American people. You deserve to be impeached.
Well, we did reach out to the Department of Homeland Security for a comment. They have not called us back. We're not going to hold our breath. Congressman Nehls, thank you very much. You're going to be the first one in the office today.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless you.